And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Overwatch League. It is time for our final match of the day, and indeed our final match of the Countdown Cup qualifiers. That's right, the Vancouver Titans, they come back down to earth a little bit after a very solid placing in the Summer Showdown, and they fight against the Boston Uprising, who risk missing their second straight cup. Both of these teams, there's a lot on the line for them today.
Yeah, it's been a rough go for Boston lately, and I think teams have woken up to Vancouver, and they're not taking them lightly anymore. And I think you see that, the preparation for what they've been trying to do and what they do best has been much better from teams throughout the Countdown Cup. Boston, though, Mitch, they've had such a tough season, up and down. So sometimes they look like they were turning the corner, right? They were going to be positive. Like they had Punk and then they beat the Gladiators right after, and it looked like they were going to turn the corner and start to put together some better results, and it has not been the case.
It's definitely one of the shortest honeymoon periods we've seen from, a new look roster. I think despite all these ups and downs and confusion, maybe disappointment for some Boston Uprising fans, no one is about to deny the depth of talent is on this roster.
Yeah.
The problem, I think, is as soon as they get into game, it looks like they're getting their own heads awfully easy. I think once they start to fall behind the 8 ball, it gets worse from there. I mean, you try to tell me a team that features your players like, Jerry, Punk, Myunbong, Fusions, definitely earlier on in his Overwatch League career looked incredibly good. We know what he's capable of if he can sort of reach for that same level of excellence again.
The talent is there. They just need to get over the mental hurdles of what happens after you lose for so long on so many crushing defeats. And they have to be on the same page in terms of teamwork. This is a team that has talent to be able to beat teams in this league. With so many 50-50 matchups sometimes when we get different hero pools and whatnot. But they just cannot put it together in terms of teamwork execution.
Yeah, the fact of the matter is, if the Uprising want to prove the doubters wrong, they need to get through their opponents today, the Vancouver Titans, to make their way in to the Countdown Cup. And the Vancouver Titans, Matt, who, like we said, they looked really strong out of the gates, especially with Shockwave, was included. Everyone was kind of blown away by his stats really early on. Again, look good individually, and Rolf is, has been a very good guiding sort of North Star for this team. But I think they're 2-12 in their last, 14 maps. So teams are starting to get the read on them now, and it seems like the Titans lack that same sort of lethality they did earlier on.
Well, when did the Titans look at their best? I feel like it was when they had Echo in play.
Yep.
We haven't seen that for a bit. Echo's kind of fallen out of the meta, so to speak. So to see that happen, I think it's something where they don't have their best look, a lot like what we thought with the Valiant.
That's right, of course. And here is your Vancouver Titans starters. They're printing them on novelty cups now out there in Canada, which is kind of dope. So, yeah, I wish I had my face on a novelty cup. Obviously, being embraced very much by the brands around them. Here's your roster. It's Shockwave, of course. Again, a player to watch in the DPS role to see if he can put out that same kind of output as he did when when Echo was available. She's available now, of course, but teams have been shying away just with how prevalent compositions featuring Ashe have been. We know that Jerry pilots a mean Ashe, Matthew.
Yeah, I mean, it's just been the combination of whether it be Genji, Ashe, that's really taken it to another level in terms of where the play in Overwatch League is. And then also, Echo did receive some adjustments. Those adjustments went into the patches for Overwatch League, and she hasn't been used really much at all.
And there you see the map pool only features one so far because it is loser pick for this particular matchup. The Boston Uprising, the Vancouver Titans now kind of have to throw down in a big way before either of them are admitted entry to our Countdown Cup, before they get a shot at some of the big guns that will be waiting for them. And of course, even the winner of this match may expect themselves to be selected by one of our top 4 teams as their first round opponents. We'll see. Oasis is going to be our first map.
As Oasis, you can run some different things. So maybe this won't be the worst case scenario for the Vancouver Titans.
So far? I mean, that looked all right on this one.
I think you also have to remember the Titans are playing with players who are playing on high ping.
That's correct.
At times. So it can be very difficult, especially when you're trying to play something like a Genji in that type of scenario.
Yeah, I believe it's KSA, right, that's actually playing. Is Shockwave playing from remotely as well?
I want to say yes.
Right. Yeah, the Vancouver Titans. Obviously, the odds may be stacked against them in some senses, but this is not a map in which the Uprising have been able to clinch a win on yet. this season. So, I mean, if I was Boston, I'd be frothing at the mouth having had to sit out of the Countdown Cup, and now they get a chance to be in the mix. It all begins on Oasis here. The Uprising out of the gates. So both teams using Symmetra to propel them forward. It's Hitscan plus Genji for both sides.
Interesting with McCree versus Ashe here, because I feel like you get so much more value out of having the Dynamite plus Halt combinations. the McCree just screams like really like passive defensive play.
Shockwave there having to use voice commands to ask for a little bit of healing as he shot a deflecting Genji twice. Immortality Field already having to be used by the Vancouver Titans, but that has been taken down, and Shockwave is hoping to get some damage done here. I mean, Fusions is down, and you see him roll forward. Shockwave and the rest of the Titans just want to bowl the Uprising over.
Yeah, so they're able to come on forward, take the point now, and this is a great sign for the Titans, especially because this is one of the points, the objectives, that it's so hard to turn back once you get control of it. So if you're Boston, you have to be so aggressive, and especially with this defensive type of composition you put together with the McCree in the mix for Vancouver, could be very difficult for Boston.
I like the Ashe on this map obviously looks really good on the high ground with Dynamite, but both teams are playing this Orisa Sigma setup, so I don't really think that, even if Jerry had control of the point, I'm not sure how safe he'd feel playing the high ground on his own or forcing an Orisa to play there. A lot happening here, obviously. Both teams going for amplification matrices, as I've been told is the way to say it, which I hate. Here is Jerry that gets taken down. Sorry, Jerry loses his bomb to the Deadeye, should I say. Very messy fight. A lot of ultimates being committed here, but I mean, with Shredlock going down now, Jerry gets to keep pushing forward in much the same way the Titans did in the previous fight.
See, that's where I feel like so the Deadeye versus Bob. I think Bob is just better because he can take objectives. I don't think it's like really anything in terms of damage. But with so many other heroes on your team that are so defensive oriented that can help assist with like a Genji coming in with like a Baptiste, a Brig, I feel like the Dynamite is really like so much ticking damage comes down from Jerry's Dynamite there that it's so difficult to just be able to heal up as you're moving backwards and the shots at range. Like, I feel like that's why you see so much Ashe being played, especially when you have the Halts in the mix. Like, it's such a perfect opportunity.
KSA goes for the Gravitic Flux here. Immortality Field down already. Supercharger is in play though, and it's a Dragon Blade now for Dalton. Doesn't really need it. The Titans were able to clean up most of the Uprising here, and I mean, you're getting a taste of what to expect in this series, right? Both of these teams taking a lot of risks, both of them being more than happy to part with these key ultimates now, and they're just going to butt heads a whole bunch.
And I wonder, we talked a little bit about the mental coming in to the series, but if you're Boston and you lose this first map to the Titans, I wonder how they kind of bounce back from that.
Right, especially when that's been a particular issue for them. I don't think they've sort of won a map yet, actually, in the Countdown Cup, just because they struggle to come back in some of these series. No, so they're 0-7, so I think they're okay. Oh yeah, they've lost every map. Right, just double checking that.
Yeah, so we'll see a clean fight there from the Titans. Now they can play close. They have the rally. They know that Boston is most likely not close to one. Boston will be forced to use like a supercharger to get on through. His Color Hex switches off of Genji. Go to Tracer just to try and touch. A little third-person action here from Car. Gonna see once they get close.
And rally, and he pushes out immediately there. I mean, Amplification Matrix gets thrown down, but there was no chance really for the Uprising to touch the point. Well, maybe there was, but Color Hex had a cowboy in his way and thought he'd best deal with that threat first. First round for the Titans.
Well, I think we both just assumed that he was going to touch, right?
Yeah.
That there was no real chance of it just ending.
If he got flashed, like, you understand, like, the guy's used a bunch of blinks already to get where he is.
At least two to get where he is.
What if he has to recall? Then that makes it even slower to get to the point.
Yeah. And then even if you recall, you know the McCree is going to be in there. So let's take a look and see. We can see what happened. Oh, no, this will be a replay of just Car. Mason to the face, dude. That's what it's about.
It's always nice when you're Brig in, you know, you can stop doing that shield dance and actually just start swinging.
I'm gonna do a little tips video of my Brig tips, and it's just gonna be me swinging.
That might require you to play
at all times.
I think at some point.
It's true. Not gonna happen.
Jerry, okay, so getting a decent amount of value out of fusions of shield early on and making short work of Shredlocks. Fire strike through. I like this. Okay, Jerry.
All right. Jerry's having some fun. Symmetra Junkrat. It's just kind of filthy, right? Like, so much damage.
This composition depends on your shield surviving longer than your opponent's one, because first of all, Jerry needs to stand behind Fusions, and he needs there to be a shield there. Fusions probably doesn't get to swing as much as he otherwise would like, and Color Hex is there to provide extra shield pressure to make sure that you have the advantage there, but the switch to Orisa here doesn't really change much for the Uprising.
And Fusions doesn't really care about his shield much at all. He's really just trying to swing to add some extra damage in the chokes.
And Matrix here from Yumbong already. And there is Dalton going down. I mean, that's a harder pick to find. Color Hex looks like the top left was where he found Dalton with the assistance of Rolf. I don't think it was boosted by the Matrix, but I could be wrong. And that's his second for the fight.
They're going to put some pressure on Shockwave here up on the high ground. They're just staggering him out. Gets a kill on Myungbong, but doesn't really matter as he'll be back, as that'll be 50% for the Boston Uprising and counting on the clock. They'll have a Riptire for this fight. Massive in terms of being able to really secure a kill. I wonder if you save Tire for Blade, or do you just kind of keep your sound barrier for the Blade when it comes through, and then also you have the Symmetra barrier.
Color Hex almost getting caught, I think, there as well. He was trying to back away as quickly as he could. Okay, that's the Symmetra barrier, and Fusion steps ahead of it. Not bad value for Fusions, by the way, considering that there is 2 enemy shields to get through. I think you're happy with that.
Yeah. Why play double shield when you can play triple shield?
Well, yeah, a quad shield, actually. I think you've got... yeah, you could just switch the Brig. That would be fun. But I kind of like that, right? You may be happy enough taking the Lucio here. Environmental kills, especially when you can control the point.
Interesting. Fusions looks like he's spot checking around the corner with his shield, and then they're going to sound barrier and try and push in.
All right, that Deadeye from Shockwave was nicely combined.
Why'd they do that, though?
Trying to win a round. You know, trying to stay in the game.
But they didn't need to do anything like that. Like, they have control of the point. Right? You have a bunch of ultimates to use. They have to run into you. That's the advantage of your composition, is you have the junk and the Symmetra to be able to just put down tons of damage as they come through.
Maybe.
You had a sound barrier against this Blade that never came through, and you had the Tire.
I think that the Uprising thought they get more from their Gravitic Flux.
Probably.
The Punk used his, if I'm not mistaken. So I think they were just trying to... It also forces C9 by having them held aloft above the point. Riptire, nice. That's a big target for Color Hex to find. Gets rid of KSA, but Dalton, yeah, just the one with the Dragon Blade. And Color Hex, oh my! This guy is at 1, 2, and 3 ranked on DPS for no reason, by the way. This guy's a grinder.
Well, that's like we talked. Like, Boston does not have like bad players, right? Like, their players are good. Like, individually, it just seems together they're not able to put it. Make it work all the time.
I love this though. Just play something different. Let Jerry shine. Let Color Hex just do something kind of wacky. You know, you let Fusions continue to swing. Trust your backline. All right, well, Color Hex gets burned down. Shockwave, yeah, he wants the Echo, man. He knows he's going up against Hitscan, by the way. He still doesn't really seem to care. That eventually comes back to bite him in the rear end, though. Shadows available for Fusions here. Oh, KSA, no chance to touch the point there. Wrecking Ball shut down.
Yeah.
Nice look from the Boston Uprising there. I have to wonder about some of the comp choices from the Titans.
Yeah, we saw it for a little bit, but you did see Shockwave bring out the Echo, and I wonder if that's something they'll try and go back to on some of the other points, or even in this series.
Can you get away with that against Jerry, though?
No, I don't think so. I really don't. I don't, and I also don't really think that... Look, McCree is in a spot where he's good when the other team is playing the double flankers, right? Tracer, Genji, you want to play at like medium close range. You can play Brawly with a McCree in the mix. In a mirror composition, McCree versus Ashe, I feel like Ashe is just so much stronger right now. That's one pick I don't really get from the Titans.
The Dynamite is just mad. Like, imagine giving McCree area of effect damage. You know, Ashe obviously also operates a little bit more effectively just outside of McCree's range.
Yeah, I mean, you also have the coach gun is great to be able to just create distance between you and some of the flankers, like a Genji coming in as well. It's great for high ground control to be able to do some mobility.
Well, it gives you the ability to traverse from low to high, right? That McCree doesn't really have. so it lets you access high ground without, you know, the help of a May or something ridiculous. Okay, Fusionist was way too low when that engagement sort of began there. And the Titans were just sitting back with that immortality field. So Color Hex tried, he goes for the dash in, but they lose their Orisa way too early.
Right. I mean, that's where you don't get the benefits of the, like, Ashe. Or if you're the Uprising, you don't have to go halfway onto the point. Like, you can play the, like, you want the Titans to come towards you and try and close the gap. McCree versus Ashe. Like, Ashe wins at the long-range battle. She doesn't win in the medium to close. So it's really about positioning your team and your Ashe in a position where you can get the best out of the hero.
Yeah, I mean, also, Fusion's got double headshots by Shockwave, I think. So as soon as the shield drop, like, dink, dink, you're down to, like, 120 health. And with everyone looking at you,
no way to heal them up from there,
you. Yeah. Especially because you don't have that great, like, you don't have the best burst healing available to you with this composition. And the Titans here, look at they're sort of just like, they trend back slightly, give the Uprising a little bit of room, and then again, once they burn down Fusions.
But I think, though, you can talk about it from Boston's end, though, Mitch. Why was there no attempt to try and get high ground? Like, even if you give up the point, if you get high ground, you set yourself up in a position for, like, big Hull Dynamites, they have to rotate around, you can... that's when you would have gotten the best out of this composition.
Well, let's see if the Titans really let them fight for it this time around, right? The Uprising are thinking, well, okay, we kind of need some health. Our shields are a little low. Oh my, look at that Punk Scott headshot there again. Big deeps, big deeps. Okay, so here's how you kind of fight for the high ground now. Use Air Matrix, hold them into line of sight. Shockwave fires his Deadeye off, but I'm pretty sure it was a deflecting Color Hex there, so he's lucky he was sitting behind the Sigma barrier. Dalton will wait for his opportunity to make a splash, and in he goes. Gets rid of Halo before he can be bashed, but Jerry finds a nice little pick on him there. Shockwave, though, no one's really paying attention to him. I think Jerry's trying to flank him right now, but Shockwave has a lot of room to work with. No pressure on that McCree.
Yes, it'll be a
late
Bob
late.
Goes to the point. They get nothing out of it, so this one's all Titans here on our final stage.
You want that Bob a little bit early if you can help it, Matthew. But he came when he came. We didn't have any choice, and the Vancouver Titans now, they're in a winning position. Fusion's actually gets a ton of stall from that high ground play. He just sits up there because no one for the Titans can really access him easily. So that is a pretty ridiculous amount of value in terms of stall, but it takes more than that. You need to find some of these early kills here. And, well, the Uprising haven't found really any of those at all in the last couple of moments now. Given the Wrecking Ball for Punk as he tries to keep the fam alive, it won't be enough, and the Titans will take map number 1.
And I really worry for the Boston Uprising after this map. No, they were able to make something happen with a symmetric Junkrat composition, but playing the, I guess you would call it the meta with the Ashe in play against the Titans, they were not able to make any ground. That's when the Titans looked their best. They were able to win a lot of those fights, keep it going. Especially they're not running Ashe, they're running the McCree, so they want to play a little bit more close quarters. They want to, like, get a little bit in that mid to short range category in terms of fights. Boston was not able to take advantage of that whatsoever. I think I'm worried about the Uprising.
I don't know, is this a glitch? But my stats readout says that Kaka has 15 final blows. That can't be right.
Why can't it be right?
Well, because the next closest person is 10. That's Dalton. So, I mean, if that is in fact true, then, wow. Yeah, I only really just checked that. Quite impressive stuff there from the Vancouver Titans. And we'll see if that is a trend that continues after the break. Map number 2 is not too far away. It will be a Boston Uprising pick, so stick around to see what they go with.
Coca-Cola is the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
Somebody, Matt, needs to do something about this Kaka guy. That was unbelievable. It wasn't until the end of the map that I actually looked down and saw my stats, and it was very messy all through it. But he tops his team in final blows. 15-5 on the Brig. I mean, come on, man.
Well,
that is crazy.
They want to play close. They want to play with McCree short range. You're going to see Brig pop off on occasion. We don't always see Brig rack up that many final blows, but it's not rare though to see a Brig like lead a team in terms of healing output. We always talk about the armor packs, but we forget sometimes about just the general Inspire procs with the healing burst and the AoE outside of the damage, and just really great survivability rally as well. So Karkar just reminding us all. I don't know if we all needed to be reminded, but that how strong Brig can be. I
mean, that was pretty insane. Karkar also types in chat, I really wish they would show Brig play the games more. And yeah, Color Hex a little salty. He's like, yes, that would be great. That would really inspire me. I think he was trying to make the pun, but clearly not impressed. Karkar, though, yeah, astonishing stuff from him. And again, that's why Shockwave gets away with playing McCree. I mean, that's something we sort of didn't mention, right? Maybe it's a little bit less self-peel for McCree, but he was so well protected. He gets to pop off. His Brig gets to beat heads in, and it's all Gucci. The next map in the series is going to be King's Row, Matthew. That's a Boston Uprising selection.
Yeah, I wonder if this obviously tends more towards long-range battles. So we'll see if there's like a Widowmaker option, Ashe potentially at the start. For the Uprising, as it looks like this far, they'll be on offense to kick things off.
We'll see. The Uprising try and go with on the attack here. How do they actually pressure out this backline a little bit more? That's what I want to see. I don't know if Widow is maybe the option. Especially against double shield. I think Jerry's going to have a little bit of a tougher time. Color Hex Doomfist could be fun. I mean, he's got a wide palette of different heroes.
You'll see Boston play the meta. Double shield, Ashe, Genji. Now we get a chance to see the Titans play Ashe. So Shockwave will play it here on this map. There's not an opportunity unlike points on Oasis to force close quarter battles. You don't want to do that on King's Row, at least here on first. Maybe you can in the Streets phase. But you'll see them play the double shield, Ashe, Genji at the start. Boston, we'll see what they decide to do. I expect Color Hex to just use a Sonic Arrow here. See what they're running, and then maybe a switch.
Not going to see much with the Sonic Arrow because the Titans are playing close together over in that high ground.
Yeah, they're going to run the Widow.
Okay. So
you can do this here.
Jerry going to be looking for Dalton, I think, for the most part, or just hoping his team can pressure. There's just not a lot of shield pressure, I think, for the Uprising right now.
Yes, what the Titans need to be aware of, though, they cannot let Jerry get into a spot where he can free fire the cross on the point. That would put the Titans at like, you see the position that Jerry's taking right now. They can't allow him to just sit there uncontested.
Dalton has to go for him.
Anyone needs to put pressure on him. They cannot allow the Widow to free fire from that range.
You can see those shots coming in here, but Immortality field there. Both teams throw it down. Jerry wasn't able to find a kill in that window. You could see he was firing. We could see the traces from the shots, right? But he gets nothing. He's halted back to his doom.
Yeah, I mean, you lose fusions. Punk, I end up taking himself out with his own Hyperspheres. I think he's just a little low. And they're quite fortunate because Jerry does get a good position. They're just waiting for, I mean, he's doing some damage. They're just waiting for a pick-off potentially on that cross. Because if you can prevent players from getting onto the point, making that cross, making it deadly with the Widowmaker in place, that's where Boston can take the point.
Shredlock having a decent fight. Most of the Titans actually getting a ton of damage done in that longer engagement. So much so that Dalton has a Dragon Blade now. Maybe it makes shorter work of Jerry and limits the threat from the Widowmaker in a longer fight.
They're so split. Yeah, they're going to push this. Yeah, they know they're split 3-3. They saw the 3 other players for Boston on the low ground, and at that point you know you have a huge advantage. That's such a great play there from the Titans to realize the situation on the fly, jump down and take them out.
Kudos.
You got to switch off this Widow.
They're getting no value.
Yeah.
The fact of the matter is there are 3 shields on the opposition side. And look at the Boston Uprising. They want to bait the Titans down from the high ground. I get that, right? But they're not really applying enough pressure, and then they're not winning the fight with five people on the ground and Jerry's firing.
To me, it's not even the shields that's the biggest impact. Like, they're getting the positioning they need, but they're not taking any types of advantage of it. That'll be Halo taking out Shockwave. Shockwave gets the bomb down before it gets taken out rather quickly.
It buys a little bit of time, and there is a supercharger here. Maybe for Dalton's Dragon Blade. So there's a combo to be had. Oh, that's so clever. Fantastic reposition there from the Boston Uprising. Fusion just hold to Dalton. In fairness, Dalton didn't get a chance to pull the blade there, but the supercharger was already used. Gravitic Flux catches only Punk, and Telehex is going to go in now. Sorry, Jerry got caught actually on the very fringes of it and goes down. There wasn't enough healing there for Human. Punk's going to try his luck at Gravity. He'll get rid of KSA. Fusion still sat behind his shield now, 4-5 to finish the long fight.
So they switch as soon as they bring the Ashe into play, they're able to take the point. So it's a nice pickup from Halo early on the Shockwave. It just spirals out of control from there. The Titans never in a position to end up using that blade.
Fusion's again has that supercharger now. There'll be no blade to combine with it for a little bit. And Dalton, yeah, what does he get for having saved this? Well, it was forced saving. It's kind of like taxes. Dalton didn't have a choice but to hold on to it for the time being. Boston, honestly, they kind of brute force their solution, Matt. They go for the same approach after switching Jerry towards the Ashe, and they still try and play the point. Now, where there is a flank afoot, Dalton is on that high ground, and he is moving into position behind the Uprising. That's a long distance for Wolf to try and heal. They've already lost Shockwave, and wow. Yeah. Who's healing Dalton, though? I guess Kaka with repair packs from long range. That's hard to make happen.
Yeah, but you see Jerry gets 2 kills right off the bat. One on the Shockwave, the other on the Dalton, and a big dynamite on the rest of the Titans. And just with that, and the supercharger, Boston may end up being able to just take this second checkpoint. We'll see if the Titans are able to get back and contest in time. It looks like you may want to try and fight this one more time. But with like a Bob in play, you can just throw that in there. If you're Boston, probably win this fight.
The Titans, time to step up now and have a crack at this one. Dragon Blade already coming out there. Dynamite thrown in. Dalton, oh dear, burns down. Jerry's able to get the finish on him now, and Color Hex pulled out a blade with plenty of flair and aplomb, but didn't really have to actually slash anyone, as it turns out.
Didn't really need much from it. Now Boston's starting to get rolling. Ant Matrix Rally, Gravitic Flux here. Is Dalton with this blade. When are we gonna see it? They have to try and you have to, if you think you're the Titans, rally plus blade here just to try and stabilize a bit, right?
Yeah, in this case, the hidden blade is definitely not the deadliest. Probably need to use it at some point. Dalton stunned up early in that fight. They lose Shockwave here, so that's a fat L being handed over to the Titans. Gravitic Flux here for good measure, and Vancouver are asleep with the wheel right now, Matthew. A bit of a slow start to map 2 after a pretty commanding win in map number 1.
They rallied, but they never bladed. Like, when are the blade is going to come out so late here, potentially at the end. So you see Dalton trying to come out this left spawn door. Now
supercharger.
Yeah, supercharger plus blade, I guess.
I don't know about this one. Immortality Field's taken down, and Dalton gets owned. Just straight owned. Punk there is eventually going to fall after attempting an accretion. Probably took a little bit of damage from his own hyperspheres now. The Uprising actually looking a little bit worse for wear, and they have to back away.
That's so risky. I mean, you had an opportunity with Rally plus Blade to be able to use it and feel good about it, where you wait for the supercharger there at the end. So dangerous, especially Boston, very close to completing the map with a decent amount of time.
And they have, crucially, Bob and a Dragon Blade with a supercharger not too far away. So they have the pieces. They just don't want to get farmed while they're waiting for them now. Shockwave on the Widow switch, which is fair, given the topography of this last phase of the map. Huge early damage. I mean, that alpha damage from the Ant Matrix forces the Uprising back. And the Uprising, I mean, they're probably okay with this. They want to build their supercharger anyway, so as long as they don't feed, they're happy. Titans, very little to work with in this next fight. Really very much behind the 8 ball. And there it is. Shockwave goes down. Color Hex may have reflected a headshot, by the way. It's hard to say if he actually crossed that gap. It doesn't look like he did. Myeonbong down, though. Jerry goes for Bob. It's removed eventually. Color Hex dives deep into the Immortality Field, and he cleans it up. Then finds Shredlock. Stunned briefly by Kaka. Valiantly trying to hold his ground. Not enough, though. Lacard is back on the move. KSA tries to stall out. Accretion thrown across. It's not going to be enough, though, when a supercharger is committed for good measure here. The Uprising are done. They want to finish this round now as they go under a minute of time bank.
Yes, you'll have Karkar come out, contest for just a little bit. Shredlock trying to make his way down. Not enough to get on the cart, though, as Boston, they finish with 39 seconds in the time bank. So pretty good offense for the Boston Uprising.
I think you're happy with that in general. Color Hex has actually looked really, honestly, looked really good across the series. Maybe, you know, the Blades haven't always been going huge, but he's found 5 kills with Dragon Blades so far on King's Row. And Jerry, once he switched over towards the Ash, was back to his old tricks, causing a lot of headaches for Vancouver. I mean, Boston finished that round with, yeah, more than double the kills that Vancouver were able to amass, which is not uncommon on a successful attack.
And I like the Widow strat at the start from Boston. Is they just were not able to take advantage of that positioning. Like, they got Jerry to the spot that you would need him to be. Forces everybody in that back left corner, very difficult to peek out. You can take advantage of the point. They just were not able to capitalize on him playing the Widowmaker, and it looks like potentially they'll play the Widow again on defense.
Maybe a little bit more reasonable here, especially given that Dalton only has the one final blow to his name over the course of this map. He's not really been able to access Jerry at all.
Well, this Widow pick on defense for Boston is to prevent any type of Widow play you could potentially see from the Titans, where, let's say, Shockwave plays the Widow, goes for that cross, you can take that fight from window to that balcony. Ash can't take that duel. And it also forces almost the Vancouver Titans to have Dalton go after Jerry, or for the Titans to play a Widow of their own.
Or does Shockwave switch? Yeah, he'll play Ash, I think, not Widowmaker against Jerry, what he's got here. There it is. And the Titans here now, just probably... maybe they're not aware of Jerry yet? Main hopping, they're going to push up anyway. Now they know there's a Widow in play. So maybe they just try and take a quick fight on the low ground and get a big advantage. They've already gotten rid of that immortality field. The Titans, their drone lasts longer. Huge for Vancouver. And they just focus fire the immortality field down while the healing was still good. Well, that Widow pick...
They don't even worry about Jerry. They don't even look at him as he's up in the window. They realize that if Boston's going to play that close, he can't do anything with the shielding in play. Is he going to try and go back and get a switch before spawns change? It looks like he was going all the way back, but now you're going to have Jerry on his Widowmaker. Yeah, stuck.
Now the train left the station a little bit too early. Oh my! Oh. Punk comes in. It looks like a Halt Accretion combo. Punk was able to get around that Sigma Shield, and all of a sudden the Vancouver Titans have been evicted unceremoniously from this part of King's Row. Punk is all fists and spheres.
That's huge. You needed that type of comeback, because as you would have gotten into the streets phase, it would have been much harder for Jerry to get an angle on the Widow. At least here, with going through this choke, you have the opportunity to make the Widowmaker pay off.
Vancouver Titans have both of their support ultimates to work with, at the very least. Dalton, though, still very quiet. He really needs some action on this Genji. Color Hex, though, first to the fight, to the fray, and to the elimination. Gets 2 there, and very convenient that he had the Halt, so he can attack the Supercharger and his opponents at the same time. Very efficient, Color Hex.
So, Karkar ends up using a rally during that fight. They use an Amp Matrix as well.
Yeah. All right, you have a Super Blade.
Yeah, I mean, you'll have Supercharger on the other side, though, plus Rally and Immortality Field or Amp Matrix. You don't like your chances in terms of that matchup.
Not a huge fan, no.
Especially when they know when you're coming from, yeah.
This also, I mean, more than Jerry getting info, it just means he can have more peace of mind about where he sets up here. Shockwave may have to go try and 1v1 him. This is a weird angle, though. It doesn't matter, but Jerry still finds it somehow. Dalton finds him, though, so gets his second kill off the map. And a trade there, despite Gravitic Flux being invested. So here's a rally. The Uprising want to double down a little bit more, but Dalton's looking for the backline and then thinks twice. He sees Halo surrounded by his namesake. That rally provided an extra shield, and decides he's happy enough that the Brig is split off from the rest of the Uprising, so he just gets rid of the tanks.
So now Boston coming back on D. You've used both support ults, your Gravitic Flux, just Supercharger, and the opposing team, Vancouver Titans. You'll have an opportunity here. You'll use Shredlock with a Halt to combo with the Gravitic Flux. They have really just the Immortality Field to try and keep them alive on the other side.
Shredlock. I think he peeked, purposely peeked ahead of his own shield, probably to help Rolf get an Amp Matrix for this next fight nice and early. Dalton's lucky to be alive. Immortality Field definitely had to be used there. And here's that aforementioned Amp Matrix. Well, Shockwave, don't know what hit him there, nor does the Surfer. Didn't expect that to be over in such short shrift. And then Matrix didn't actually find much for Wolf there, so now the Immortality Field gets thrown down. Color Hex, that's already gone. He would have gone and got the kill, but a fantastic accretion from KSA shuts down the Dragon Blade. And the Vancouver Titans, I got bad news for you Bostonians. It's not looking good. The Titans are going to have a gigantic time bank in the last phase of Kings Row.
4 minutes and 11 seconds for the Titans here. And you look over at the Boston Uprising, not a lot to work with. Now you can Gravitic Flux, but it'll just get Immortality fielded for the Titans. And then you have Dalton with a Blade, which is going to force you to be reactionary. Maybe end up using your Rally, and then that'll give the Titans a window with some extra ultimates that'll come online to be able to push the card through. You've also given up so much space here if you're the Boston Uprising. Yes, you're going to let them get the card almost right around the corner.
Dalton has gone nuts in the last couple of minutes, man. He is on a riot, and it's far from over. Color Hex desperately trying to get away, but Myeongbong wasn't standing inside his own Immortality Field. Very clever target selection there. Dalton on a dime is able to pivot to a different target and secure the kill. Fantastic stuff from the Vancouver Titans, and Dalton gets 9 final blows within the last 2 minutes.
But most teams in that situation, Mitch, they get 2 fights. Like, you'll get a fight up, like, on the close corner, and then maybe you'll get one on the point at the end. Boston allows them to pretty much walk the card all the way to the final point, and then I think they were just playing around the Gravitic Flux there, but it's not enough. It's a massive time advantage here for the Titans.
Vancouver finally start to get things meshing properly. It was looking a little bit dicey. In fact, at some point, Jerry had the confidence to flank behind them with, with Infrasight available to try and capitalize on a Gravitic Flux, and that was where things actually went south for the Boston Uprising.
Yeah.
And now what? With a 2-minute, 41-second time bank differential.
So what's a benefit here for the Titans as well? Because of the minute on the clock, you can't really guarantee it, but you have a very good idea they're not going to come out and try Widowmaker again, because you need the ultimate progress of having the Ashe on first point if you're Boston to progress through the map.
Sure.
Like, you can't afford to take the point as the Widow and then switch to Ashe and then not get any value out of it.
It ruins your momentum, right?
Yeah. So you know they're going to have to come out here and try and play the Ashe and make it work.
Also, Bob's pretty handy because it can pop enemy Orissas above their own shields. That's always fun. Can force, force that fortify.
You can contest objectives.
All right, Dynamite goes you. Jerry won't have a chance to detonate it manually. Titans have already vacated that position. Now they're back. So Shockwave, presumably, very aware of Color Hex's position right now, and the Uprising is the same again. They want to force the Titans to fight on the point, force them off this high ground. Oh my!
That's
Jerry!
clean.
Shockwave gets a free haircut. It's an inverse Mohawk, though. You don't get to choose in cases like this. And Rourke loses that Immortality Field early on. Jerry's gone down here. But yeah, too little, too late there. I mean, the Titans lose that hit scan pressure in a long fight. And Boston, thanks to Jerry, cracked that one open.
All right, so now the Uprising will be able to get the cart, see how much progress they can make. The biggest part there is killing Shockwave early on denies him a decent amount of ultimate progress. What I think the Uprising need to be worried about, though, is that Dalton is starting to find Jerry alone in the Genji versus Ashe matchup, and he's been taking advantage of it. Dalton's been able to pick off Jerry a few times. They have to make sure they can keep Jerry alive. He's trying to help Jerry because he was getting challenged by Dalton up there.
Oh, Myeongbong. Okay, he has to use a pretty key healing cooldown there. To die in that position would have been terrible. Hey, that's great position for the Immortality Field. That's pretty hard to get rid of. KSA actually accretions it, and then Dalton has the way cleared for him. Oh, Boston! Yeah, well, be like that sometime, doesn't it?
Really,
I mean, Halo was there, just not.
And you had Rally going, yeah, and you had Color Hex coming around the other side with a blade. I don't know if you could, like, stand your ground there in Boston and live.
That's some real Sadka hours, though.
So I think you're like, all right, well, if we stand on the point, most likely Halo gets burst down. He triggers overtime. does it at least give Color Hex a chance to pull the blade out and, you know, get a swing or two off, and then maybe
against
somebody...
an Immortality Field team. Hog.
Yeah, I don't...
Not very poggers, I would say.
I'm sure everybody's like, oh, it's a C dive. I don't really know about that one. There's nothing really they could have done there.
Yep. That's why I think forced C9 is an oxymoron, because
now where the cart is quite... It's gonna be hard here for Boston on defense, because if the fight extends a little bit longer here when the first point's taken, if you get anybody with that long spawn for Boston, they're pretty much not coming back the rest of the way. He sees this Widow, right?
Surely
there
he's
he
not
does.
that.
No, he saw the Widow. I was like,
there's
no way he's gonna say
stones on this man.
Yeah, I was like, that is very risky. Doing 360s on top of the statue, but Shockwave now goes over to Ash. The mirror matchup.
Okay, Dalton holds it down, dash through, then goes for a deep play. Okay, so Immortality Field there, used first by the Titans. Now, this went the other way last time, and Boston struggled. There you go. So first team to go for the Immortality Field tends to come out a little bit worse, but Dalton's finding some pressure. Shockwave does get rid of Fusions here, who is slow, and there's no Lucio for Boston, so it's going to be a little while before Arista's back in play.
All right, so Boston with that first fight gives them a slight big advantage in terms of Bob.
Yeah, I don't think Vancouver are going to be quick enough to punish this. Okay, it doesn't mean that Boston can't hold the statue, though, so there is that.
They do gain some positioning, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is very good positioning. Again, still comes down to the execution, and it's another very early Immortality Field. Titans,
and
they're back up, though. Credit to them. This is fine.
They have to have an idea that, yeah, he was close to the Amp Matrix. Some reflected damage here. You wait this out, and then do you just
you go. You
let him go with the blade? Yeah, I think that's kind of what you do. Just
Amp Matrix.
Oh, they may not even need it after that.
They don't have to push very far back. That's easy enough. Milnbog and Color Hex both fell to one slash of the blade, and Fusions is trying to call his travel agent. Get me the heck out of this city. They hate Omnics here, apparently, and I need to call my consulate. Well, Mbani, it's nighttime over there right now. No one's operating the phone. Sorry, Fusions.
But see, the point will be taken. And are you going to have Fusions and Halo get that long spawn? Yeah. Look at how far away Fusions and Halo is, and Fusions has the supercharger. So you have to switch off of Halo, who just used Rally to try and get Fusions back up to the front to use the supercharger.
It looks so bad in a long fight, right? Maybe if they find early picks for this Dragon Blade, but like, I mean, it's tough. They'd have nothing to do really, especially if Bob gets thrown in like this. Yeah, okay, so Bob's for everybody. Wolf goes down early. It's a trade though. Color Hex gonna have to give up his life for that one kill, and you could just see Punk. Fusions was way too far behind. Punk couldn't get to him at all. And the Vancouver Titans will walk into half-time with a significant lead in this series, and it's a first to 3 series. So
yeah,
the Uprising have one more chance to stay alive.
Yeah, and potentially Boston could have tried to use their Bob to stall the point, give them enough time, but what we saw from the POV underneath the bridge, the Bob just kind of walks right past the cart and sends it down mid, so to speak. Doesn't get towards the cart.
Bob just ints full
Bob
send.
Just ints, yeah.
Yeah, unfortunate, right? If he'd actually hit the cart, maybe. Maybe they were trying to knock someone up. Maybe Jerry was trying to line, somebody up, get some CC on them, but. Doesn't feel good, didn't it? It felt like it was a little bit hard to see. And the Boston Uprising now, that was their map pick. You'd expect them to be looking pretty confident there. Unfortunately, they had a good shot, but as soon as Dalton started to perform as we expected him to, he just started ruining Boston, just dominating him.
Well, it's what we've seen from Boston in the past. We've seen them as not being able to protect from Youngbung at times, but this was Dalton just going at Jerry. And when Jerry had the opportunity to actually kind of play the Ashe without having a Genji just dive at him, being able to a ton of pressure in his face, we saw good things from the Uprising, but they were not able to deal with the pressure coming in from a Genji.
All right, well, halftime now, and heads need to go together on the side of the Uprising, or they're going to miss yet another cup. First was the Summer Showdown. They're fighting for their lives here once more in the Countdown Cup. Stick around. We're going to hear from our experts at the game break, and then it'll be reckoning. Can the Uprising stay alive? We'll find out.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile. Switch today and rank up to America's largest 5G network, T-Mobile. And by State Farm. For auto, home, or renters insurance, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Welcome to a game break presented by Pringles. Wavy, Zoe here once again with Costa and Reinforce, and currently the Vancouver Titans are leading the charge 2-0 against the Boston Uprising in our Countdown Cup qualification match. So let's talk about what is going down on these first two maps, or what was going down on these first two maps, starting with Oasis. Reinforce, I mean, one thing we definitely already got mentioned by the caster is, of course, Karkar completely fragging out on that brigade, as one does. What else stood out to you?
I've never seen someone frag out on Brigade like this. It was
sometimes
unique.
Like that.
It was, you know, once in a blue moon or something. Some kind of phrase in there. I did like what I saw from the Vancouver Titans. They actually put Shockwave on that McCree instead of the Ash. And it's a bit of a different pick that we haven't seen that much in the league. But I like what it brought to the Vancouver Titans table, because it gave them some more fragging potential, and it made Color Hex more prone to taking damage from that hit scan player. So I liked the McCree pick being integrated into Vancouver Titans lineup, and then you had both teams playing this double shield composition, and from that Vancouver Titans just looked way more comfortable in this and pushed forward with Karkar on that brig, just like absolute warlord. Loved seeing it from him. So bit surprising from the Vancouver Titans, but I loved what I saw from them.
Yeah, it was a pretty interesting match thus far. I definitely think the Vancouver Titans have a pretty big edge when it comes to playing this double shield Genji style. Even worse on map 2 on the King's Royal, I feel like Boston is having the same issue that they always seem to have of just not having that confidence to sort of make the big flanks, make the big plays. It feels like Color Hex is falling short whenever he pulls that blade, and that they're just sort of, as a 6-man unit, walking in and hoping everything is okay, and they are getting punished by the Vancouver Titans a lot of the time.
Yeah, the Titans definitely just seem to string it all together and get a little bit more value. In terms of compositions, did anything stand out to you on that map, Costa?
I don't want to take up the spoiler of what our crunch time is going to be, so we're just going to save the rate. We'll say, we have an exciting crunch time coming up in a second. Yeah. But for the most part, it stayed pretty standard. We saw both of them play the Ashe for the most part and the Genjis. There isn't a lot of difference in what these two teams are bringing. As I said, I think the main difference maker right now is that the Boston Uprising just aren't coordinating anywhere near as well as the Vancouver Titans.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Let's just dive straight into a crunch time presented by Pringles Wavy, because both of you had a lot of choice words about one particular hero, which just kept on popping up on our screens.
Costa, it's all yours.
Okay, so we complained about this when the Los Angeles Gladiators played it as well, especially on the defense, the Widowmaker. There is a time and a place for the Widowmaker, but there is a very good reason we don't see Widowmaker coming out from a lot of these top NA teams. Is because if you aren't getting multiple frags in a team fight, or just one frag in a team fight, you are literally getting significantly less value than you could on a McCree or an Ashe. They're really struggling, and we saw both teams do this on their defense on Kings Row. Jerry did it for the Boston Uprising, and Shockwave did it for the Vancouver Titans. And you can just see here, they're struggling to get the angles. They're getting picked. It's so hard to deal with an Ashe, a Genji, and all the shields that are coming out. They should just stick to what is going to do more damage so you can win the middle fights and actually get some progress and hold something.
How does this happen, Reinforce? Is this just a matter of the players really kind of feeling themselves, vibing, as you would say?
Sure, yeah. I mean, why not? I do think that there is something to say about the players being comfortable in their role and then just playing to their strengths and what they are the most comfortable with. But in this instance, I do agree with Costa in that Ashe is the superior pick, especially on King's Row, because it's very tight, right? So you can get a lot of explosive damage with your Dynamite as an Ashe player. It's hard to find those angles as a Widowmaker, but I like seeing it sometimes from Shockwave, because Shockwave has shown in the past, especially on Havana, I believe against Toronto Defiant, he really popped off on the Widowmaker and had a lot of impact and actually brought something to the table. But for most of the time, the Ashe is a much more consistent pick because of her utility with the Bob and with the explosive Dynamite. So if you're in ranked as well, I mean, I know there's a lot of Widowmaker players watching this stream in the YouTube chat right now, okay? I see you. Yeah? Sometimes you should actually pick Ashe because she brings a lot to the table when it comes to these double shield compositions. So a bit of an explainer. We're teaching the gold players in the chat, how to play the game properly. So that's me and Costa for crunch time this time around.
Absolutely. The do's and mainly the don'ts, brought to you by Costa and Reinforce. Thank you so much, gentlemen. We're now heading over to Hanamura. Once again, the map pick of Boston Uprising. The big question, of course, can they bring him back? We're not going to see any substitutions from either team. So without any further ado, let's dive straight into Hanamura, map number 3 of our qualification match.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Pringles Wavy. Big crunch, big flavor. The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile. Switch today and rank up to America's largest 5G network, T-Mobile. And by State Farm. For auto, home, or renters insurance. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Good to have you back, everybody, after our half-time break. I'm Mitch Leslie here with Matthew Morello. It's our last match of our Countdown Cup qualifiers, and we are playing, or these teams, should I say, are playing for their chance to even have a seat at the table.
Yeah.
And right now, it looks like it might be the Boston Uprising sent to the doghouse, Matthew.
Yeah, it's not looking good for Boston. You lose map 1. Map 1's very close. You lose your own map pick in map number 2 with the Titans sitting a really fast time with their offense. Now we go to another Boston Uprising map pick. Loser of the previous map picks the next one, which the next map looks like it will be Hanamura. Just kind of double checked it, but now with Hanamura in play here for map number 3, it's another map that tends more towards Ash, like long range sightlines. You can't really play that McCree and brawl it out like we saw the Titans play on map number 1.
We, on this map, whenever Boston Uprising sort of had this map in recent times, it was the color hex May. That was the go-to pick on this map. I don't know necessarily if this is the time for it right now. I also think that, Sigma players are going to be under the microscope pretty heavily on a map like this, especially in how they hold that off angle on that A, on point A.
Do you want to come in here and play May in a situation like this, though? Like, Genji is clearly the strongest hero you can put on your team in the composition right now.
Yeah.
Taking Genji out for May and like playing like Ash May.
The only reason I
just
said
doesn't.
it is because if he picks it, I look really smart.
True.
And if he doesn't pick it, I'll just sound like I was spitballing. So it's fine.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, if he does play it, I think it's a huge red flag that the Uprising just don't feel like they can get not value, but maybe they just can't play around Genji as well as some other teams can.
Boston will start on the attacking side at any rate, and in fairness, the Genji play has been completely serviceable this series. It's been totally fine. Color Hex has had some issues getting tons of value, but like you're playing against Immortality Field, right? We're not seeing a lot of Ana. Neither of these teams are playing a bunch of Ana. Even though Myeonbong is incredibly good at it, like the first 2 maps just don't lend themselves very much to that pick. Maybe like had we seen Gibraltar, then it would have been that would have been a story.
But you still have to play Genji on offense. It's not like you can come out and play May on offense. You still have to be successful with this type of composition. So we'll see if they're able to do it here. Jerry probably just trolling with the Torb, and then he'll switch off. Yep.
Okay, so it will be the Genji and the Ashe from Boston. We'll see now. Jerry just wants to set up safe as he can under here. What kind of pressure does KSA get put under here? We're sitting on that left side. Probably Dalton playing on top of him there. Just trying to reject anyone who tries to sneak in through that upper window. Fairly passive positioning. Oh, they're trying to bait a push in here. Look at this. They're trying to give a proper off angle to KSA now. And look at that. They dive on them immediately. They've actually split Color Hex off, who dives headfirst with a Swift Strike into his team's Immortality Field.
Yeah, so the Uprising they will get high ground here.
Okay. This is alright.
How do the Titans want to play this? Wait, they're gonna wrap back around and go low.
Dalton, halfway to a Dragon Blade.
Are they gonna go all the way around?
Yes. I mean,
For high ground?
It keeps them out of LOS for as long as humanly possible. They don't have to go high ground. They can rack this way. I guess this is fine. I mean, if you can get to this door, yeah, you get to use an air matrix pretty early on and force positioning with Halt to try and get some early damage. But if the Titans survive this...
That's nice, yeah.
Okay, well, it might have been an issue if the Vancouver survived that, but even with Immortality Field, they still lose Shredlock, so that's kind of brutal for the Titans. They trade back by getting rid of Color Hex, but they don't have an Orisa, so that's the main issue here. And Jerry gets to take these duels, which he really loves to do. Good Immortality Field there to stave off the gravitic flux of KSA. And all right, Boston are in very good shape here.
Well, they live long enough for Shockwave to end up maybe using the Bob here. Oh, he uses it, but right as his teammates fall. So a bit of a waste of the Bob. That could be big as we go over to point B.
Okay, that's clean. That's clean from the Boston Uprising. They go for a fairly circuitous approach to the point, right? They go right around, but it makes it impossible, really, for the Titans to engage on them from a safe position until they're in range to get a really handy Amp Matrix off.
And you see Shockwave go Widow. He doesn't have Bob to contest the point here, and he knows that there's a Bob for Jerry in the Boston Uprising. So you may as well try and outrange the Ashe and get a pick on the Widow, win one fight, and then switch out.
Jerry, okay, yeah, he has to play just inside this Immortality field. So the Blade is drawn. Both Immortality fields get used here. All right, KSA a little bit on his own here. Still gets halted. That was actually quite clever from Fusions. He activates the halt early enough so that it doesn't get sucked into the kinetic grasp. I believe it would have been. Now we have another Air Matrix from Yonbong here. So it may be as simple as Boston walk up, set up on the high ground, and you get a high ground Air Matrix behind your Batiste. You're in very good shape. That's definitely going to be their win con here.
Boston just kind of... Oh, they were waiting and... Oh, they were waiting for these ultimates and they lose.
Okay, they used the Air Matrix here and... that's a shame for the Uprising. They were such good shape, but Dalton just sneaks the kill away. Brutal stuff.
Yeah, as they were waiting for potentially Fusions to get this Supercharger and then Blade and go on through. They use the Amp Matrix there. So you don't have that big ultimate now. Shockwave's still playing the Widow. Really good at range here. Comparison to the Ashe. A lot of great sightlines for Widow offensively and defensively here on Hanamura.
Whoa, Fusions has to be careful. Oh, man, he's so mad. Having to use Fortify at such long range because his shield just got owned. Great poke from the Titans, considering it's a Widow... it's a Widow Genji comp. That's rather remarkable that they are to apply so much shield pressure. This would be just... I mean, this would be egregious if Shockwave's able to pick that angle. Headshot on Fusions. Yeah, Myeonbong has to use his main healing cooldown there.
And they use Immortality Field.
That's a huge time burn.
Well, now you have a free Blade potentially for Dalton.
You have to go within the next 15 seconds, and the Uprising have a ton of other stuff to work with here as well. They could try and turn around and... I mean, they could bob the Genji. I know it's kind of crazy, but... They have again, the Amp Matrix, sorry, from the high ground, which they probably want to try and make use of here. Amp Matrix from the Titans just... Oh, there it is! There it is! Shockwave, patience pays dividends. And he'll get himself an easy kill on Jerry. And he's actually in a position now to interpose himself between Jerry and the rest of his team. Maybe biting off more than he could chew if he... that is not okay. That is not okay.
He lives, and they're able to get a color hex. KSA with an accretion, and then you have Dalton just dash right through him. Boston, Mitch, they've had so many ultimates for a long time. They keep losing a player over and over again before they can get anything going. This is like it's like a horror trip of like a ranked game, right? Where you're just waiting forever for a teammate to come back.
Here goes the clock, Matt. 144, 143 is all the time the Uprising have to work with. Rolf is down. Bob, big, bad, and bustling, makes his entrance to the point. A Carissa percentage now, while the Titans are still too busy to sort of deal with him. Karkar drops down now, but Bob's shooting at KSA. Karkar is able to stay that off, and KSA eventually falls down. So that ledge now belongs to the Uprising.
Rally comes through. It's Halo and Coach trying to get on the point.
Okay.
Big Flux doesn't really get much of anything here from Punk. It'll be a Blade that comes in from Color Hex, and that's a 0.
Now, Fusion's able to find a couple of big kills though in KSA. Okay, this could be big. He needs a bit extra damage on... Yeah, okay. You know, maybe a little bit more damage on Punk, but he was being healed up quite diligently.
They have the shielding and the Amp Matrix though.
Yep, team's back as well. Oh, I feel for Halo in this position now. KSA is so hard to ship. Not only the shields, but the kinetic grasp. He keeps himself alive as well with that gravitic flux. And I mean, they're home and hosed now. 42 seconds for the Uprising.
And that was their best chance. They had held on to all of these ultimates for one big fight. They end up using them all and still not enough. 43% here on point B. Color Hex will take out Shockwave, so see if they can take advantage of this. By the time they actually get to the point though, because it's such a slow comp, they're gonna be mostly back.
15 seconds remain, just over 1 tick as all the Uprising have gotten themselves so far. Neither team has much to work with. Again, it's going to be ledge control plus that the Amp Matrix for the Uprising. Let's see if they can get Myeongbong into position safely. Kaka's down already, so that means the Titans get all this ground up, and this is perfect for Boston. This is what they want. Myeongbong drops down, Immortality Field, and Matrix thrown up there, and it's a trade. Jerry for Donald. No! Has his head torn off his shoulders now. KSA has to break line of sight, has his shield, but Myeongbong has a Matrix for himself. No time left. We are in overtime here, but the Boston Uprising have the numbers to work with. Color Hex is a little low right now. It's forced to deflect and back away, but Boston at least finished the map.
They needed that. If they didn't finish the map there, you are looking at a 3-0 sweep in favor of the Titans, and it still may result that way, but at least Boston now has given themselves a chance. Where on the defensive end, they can put together some kind of stand here on maybe point A or B and win a map in the series. Dude, how much time did they burn off the clock? Just constantly, whether you look at it from the Titans angle of getting a pick off or Boston just dwindling their time, but having somebody picked early, it felt like it was like 2-3 minutes where they sat on these ultimates and they were never able to even make it a push.
Just players from the Titans pushing forward. I mean, it's kind of brutal, right? You finally get an amplification matrix play, and then you lose your Orisa. So now it's no longer safe to actually get any value out of that. So all of a sudden, not only are you going to lose the fight, but you're going to lose it slowly. And you've also used your ultimate as Batiste, so kind of brutal. You see what the Uprising's plan was there. It's like, okay, get a good position for, Batiste to make things happen, but, well, it took them a little bit long, and they had to really brute force their way through in the end by just, spamming some ultimates in Dragon Blade for Color Hex, of course. Look, so far across this map, I've been really impressed with Myeongbong. Fusions has done a good job, but Color Hex has been really quiet, Matthew. Very, very quiet.
All right, so see how Boston, their approach is on defense. Shockwave with the Widowmaker pick. I wonder if this is just to try and catch somebody up in the window, potentially, and then swap, or you want to stay on the Widow. Looks like they're going to play the Widow for a little bit here.
Oh, well, he's not going to get pressured. And I don't know. Okay, there is still the off-angle Sigma play here. Shockwave. I mean, Color Hex probably has to do something about this Widowmaker, otherwise it's begins to
he's
become a
backing
foregone
up.
conclusion. Well, Punk can't do much right now. He actually
Look at how many players are weak.
Look at how quickly he's getting this ult charge there, Matt. Myeongbong building up. The Titans still get rid of Color Hex, though, who eventually had to go for something.
Yeah, but so you build up the ult charge, but look at this. They have the cross now. Like, you can just pressure out Punk, and now the Widowmaker has free reign over the choke.
I mean, Punk spent so long out of this fight. I guess he was hoping to find some sort of value because the Titans ignored him and allowed him to play this off angle. But you know what Vancouver did, Matt? KSA just put a shield in between his team and Punk.
Yeah, and then as Boston's trying to walk their way to the point, Shockwave picks up 2 kills, double headshots back-to-back, one on Fusions, one on Myeongbong. And that'll be the point for the Vancouver Titans. Now, this Widowmaker becomes even scarier here as we move over to point B. You get control of this bridge on Widow, it's GG.
Shockwave wants to push up. There's a blade here from Color Hex. We'll call that a defensive blade. How about that? Stunned up there. Oh my god. Oh, Kaka!
But
they make life so hard for Color Hex, man.
They used Amp Matrix and Blade there, though.
I mean, yeah, and now they have a Gravitic Flux still. I mean, they've got ultimates to use, but if this doesn't work out, then, I mean, just 1 kill. That's all Shockwave needs from here. Okay. This is a good response. This will force Shockwave to respect a little bit. Here's that Flux. It's going to catch Halo. Is there enough damage? Not quite. And Halo actually gets dropped in a better position than on the ledge itself. Fusions is down, though. Dalton's found 2 kills. And now this high ground control goes to Vancouver, but they don't have a Batiste to make the best use of it.
Yeah, I don't think this is enough for the Titans to be able to take this point. They do get high ground. Can you hold this, though? It doesn't seem like they'll be able to. Yeah, Boston realizes how depleted the roster is right now with players coming off the spawn for the Titans. They decide to all push up through that choke. They take control of the high ground yet again.
The Shockwave, once more, is going to have to make his way in. Now, it looks like Jerry's playing on top of the awning above the point. So here's another Immortality Field used really early on, but they get rid of Punk, and okay, it's a trade at the very least. Once more, Batiste doesn't get much value. He has to throw down that Immortality, so the Amp Matrix, but that's it.
So Boston with yet another fight win. Dalton with a kill on the way out. It won't matter that much, though, as Jerry with a Bob. That'll really be it here. So this might be a window for the Titans. Now Shockwave on Ashe. Can you get control of the high ground by using Supercharger and just muscling your way on through? Might be what the Titans try and do. Myungbong will have the Ant Matrix, so you can't exactly push directly into that.
Yeah, I mean, look, the Titans are 6v5 if they're playing with the Widow who's not finding any angles because of shields.
Yeah, what you can do here if you're the Titans is try and like go up that choke. Oh, it'll be the Blade that comes out here from Color Hex early on.
Oh, stunned again. Actually, I'm not sure. I think it was stunned by Karkar in that case.
Oh, this is all Titans.
Oh, and unfortunately, we had to be on board with that, but there was an immortality field by the Titans just threw it down. And they are, how do I put this? And they're a long way ahead now. And I mean, the Boston Uprising, they're not really in much of a position to stop them or try and stall Bob, Ball, you name it, they're throwing it in. Dalton dashes in. It's a Blade to finish off Color Hex now. Nice sleep dart from Myungbong. Shame we didn't get to see more Ana from him over the course of this series in general. He's boomed off the point. Fusions is back on the Wrecking Ball once more. And the Titans will eventually clean him off now. And it's Danger Town for the Uprising here, Matt. They won't have another chance to attack.
But that's a fight. You should be able to win if you're Boston. You've had like Ant Matrix, you had your Blade in play, and the other team just had a Supercharger, which comes later in the fight. Like, you should... That's how Vancouver was able to make such a good defensive stand. They got aggressive with their ultimates and pushed into Boston and didn't allow them to use any of their ultimates. That time, Vancouver does an excellent job just kind of kiting those out, staying alive, then dropping their Supercharger and able to pick up some kills.
Well, this is it. The Boston Uprising, if they have any designs on competing further in the Countdown Cup, if they want any chance of being a part of the tournament itself, well, I mean, they need to get a draw here, I guess, and they need to win out from here. That is a tall order, especially given how easily Vancouver were able to dismantle them as they tried to hold point A.
What I think you'll need to see here from Boston if you're going to get a hold is like you can't see Color Hex play as passive. We can take a look here. It's Dalton with the dash through. Beautiful Genji play here from Dalton.
Hard to ask for much more.
You cannot see, like, I think it's, Color Hex needs to control the space he's in right now. He can't allow Shockwave, because the Titans, what they did last time, they pushed right in, they forced everybody from Boston to the right-hand side, and the Shockwave is able to just put down damage from the choke and not have to worry about anything. You have to see Color Hex contest that. He has to be confident enough to take that 1v1.
Okay. Shockwave here. Okay, so you can see the Uprising are playing back from the choke as well, which means that the Punk needs to do a lot of work as soon as they push in here. See again, KSA throws the shield off to ward Punk away. He needs to get involved more actively. Look at it, this time, he's actually in the front line. So, good adjustment here from the Uprising, and Punk gets involved, but gives the high ground away to Shockwave. Oh! Color Hex will never know what hit him, and the Uprising will never know how it feels to compete in the Countdown Cup, Matt. It's as simple as that. The Vancouver Titans take the series away once more, denying the Uprising next week's worth of games. Yeah, it's cold, but it's true, I'll be honest.
It is true. Vancouver, they come in, they take care of business here against Boston, and I mean, look at what happened. It's kind of exactly what I was talking about. Like, they created the space for the Widowmaker, and then Shockwave goes out, and he's able to take out Jerry and Color Hex right back to back. Even if they would have traded a few players there, you have nothing to contest the Widow. You have to use like a Sigma shield to go up there. You don't have the Sigma shield for the points. You don't even get the benefits of the double shield setup. And everything falls apart. So
what are you supposed? I guess what he's supposed to do there, right? Because Punk probably got yelled at for staying up on the high ground and getting caught out from the rest of his team last time. That's why he said, well, I'm going to jump down now. All KSA had to do was put a shield to his left as he walked in.
You have to have like Color Hex kind of shadow where this Widowmaker's playing. Genji Widow 1v1, especially in the type of state that both heroes are in, like Genji should be able to win that close range. So you should be trying to just use the high ground. Just the presence of Genji, right, would deter Shockwave from moving into the choke or taking that high ground and being able to land those shots. and being able to put down that much damage. Without any type of presence, it just forces your team into such bad positions, whether it be around the corner or trying to cross the Widow to the point.
And I mean, now, you mentioned Color Hex. Maybe he had to shadow Punk a little bit more there. But one of the reasons why Color Hex wasn't able to get too much done, especially on that map, was our player of the match presented by Xfinity. And today, it goes to Kaka, a veteran of the contenders scene. An absolute standout in Fusion University now playing for the Vancouver Titans. There was no chance in so many of these fights for Color Hex to get much done. Constantly shield bash. Kaka somehow is just whipping, doing 180s and just managing to CC the enemy Genji so frequently. All series long, of course, had an unbelievable Oasis map, but he didn't fall off. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, he was really strong today on the break. Did a nice job of neutralizing Color Hex, like you mentioned, whenever he came in. With those blades, it was always a situation where they were able to deal with Color Hex. Never really saw him get these big pop-off blades in a lot of scenarios, and Karkar's a big reason why.
A very impressive play from him. We don't often get a chance to really speak, talk about the Brig.
Yeah.
But we spent a lot of this round, a lot of this meta actually observing from the perspective of these Genjis, right? Especially because the blade is so important. So now, every time we see a Genji getting stunned, we know, like, oh, that's a Brig, that's another stun, that's another stun. Really impressive stuff from Kaka. Also, an unbelievably large amount of final blows per 10 minutes for a Brigitte player. Absolutely
kind
absurd.
of inflated probably by
that Oasis
the map 1, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, really impressive stuff though. And of course, crucially, a lot of those bash kills coming in. Good Inspire uptime, but again, it's kind of hard to ensure Inspire uptime. Sometimes you just throw out a whip shot and hope it hits. Sometimes you have to be swinging. So it doesn't really say much about the style, but that was sick. Just such a sick series from him.
Yeah, and the Titans find themselves in another tournament.
Yep.
So as much as we've talked about how we haven't seen Boston Uprising, compete in some of these, tournaments at the end of the qualifiers, we've now seen the Titans in the last two. The last one they don't have to play in the play-in. Obviously, much better placing. They didn't really as strong in this meta as they were in the past, but still, it's a pretty nice achievement for the Titans, a new roster that's come in.
So now you see how our knockouts are going to be working as we head, obviously, Friday, August 7th is where things kick off, and those are the teams that are up to be selected by some of our front runners here. So, I mean, the Defiant, Fuel, Valiant, and Rain, they've all had their own individual issues, but there are some teams I'd much rather go up against than others. That's all I'm going to say there. But who cares what I think about that? What we want to hear is what the teams themselves are considering. We've got 4 teams that have been able to secure themselves the privilege of selecting their opponents. So we're going to hear from them and much more right after this in our selection show. So stick around, ladies and gentlemen. That one's not too far away. And remember, next weekend, you can get yourself double our tokens by watching on the OverwatchLeague.com website or through the app. And it's a great chance to fatten up the bank, especially with MVP voting coming up soon. We have MVP skins and all the rest, or maybe you can pick up something you haven't gotten yet so far. But at least the Titans are in the mix now. They'll be pleased, and we're going to head now to our selection show. So thanks for joining us so far. Next part of the show is spicy. I recommend you stick around because we're going to hear, I'm sure, plenty of hot takes. Stay tuned.